Focus in the bulletin right now. It's been an atmosphere of severe acrimony between Omar Abdullah's government and the army over the contentious issue of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. Headlines Today now has access to an exclusive copy of the actual data that has been presented by the army to the Jammu and Kashmir government.
In fact, this note gives a point-by-point rebuttal to every concern that Omar Abdullah has raised about AFSPA. Will the CM then finally see reason and maybe change his mind?
This is one battle the army simply doesn't have the stomach for. A battle of hard data versus political considerations. A battle of threat perception against what it sees as chronic myopia in the Jammu and Kashmir government. The army's uphill battle to persuade the government against lifting the Armed Forces Special Powers Act from certain parts of the Kashmir Valley. A day after Chief Minister Omar Abdullah said,
"No is not an option that I'm willing to consider. So other than no as an option, you give me other options."
Headlines Today has accessed exclusive copies of the damning data that the army presented to the Unified Command to bolster its case. Data that Omar Abdullah is apparently choosing to ignore completely. For starters, the army conveyed that the nexus of the Pakistan Army, ISI, separatists and terrorists wants precisely this, the disempowerment of the armed forces. The army has warned that if the Armed Forces Special Powers Act is lifted in certain areas, terrorists will find those empty spaces to fester and grow. In the army's words, there are no islands of peace. If one disempowers the armed forces, you give space to inimical elements to operate. The army has said lifting the AFSPA would undermine and reverse all the gains of the security forces, which includes an active intelligence grid. Very crucially, the army revealed that partial revocation of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act was not conducive to army operations, and to bolster its case, the army has also officially listed the massive terror infrastructure alive and well in Pakistan.
The terror infrastructure across the line of control is absolutely intact and functioning. You have to make haste very slowly, very cautiously. We have lost 5,000 good men trying to get the situation to where it is.
The army also puts down the country's worst fears. It has told Omar's government that the US downsizing in Afghanistan with effect from 2012 will relieve pressure and make available terrorists for Jammu and Kashmir. It has presented the view that when India's tenure in the UN Security Council ends next year, Pakistan's entry will provide UN leverage for the Kashmir issue. In the recent Unified Command Headquarters meeting, the army highlighted the mechanics of a hybrid war. The army's predicament has been compounded by the centre simply washing its hands off the issue.
Easiest to get decision. To leave it to the Unified Command in Kashmir to take a decision on this question of partial intervention.
The army has pleaded with the establishment that its views are based purely on a professional assessment of the security situation and not on any emotions, and that it remains open to dialogue to arrive at the best possible solution.
The army has put forward a strong case backed with a lot of figures about why it feels that this was not the right time to lift the Armed Forces Special Powers Act from Jammu and Kashmir. This at a time when the Chief Minister Omar Abdullah has been seen really putting his foot down and saying that he cannot take no for an answer. Clearly, the standoff between the two sides seems to be far from over. With Shivarur in New Delhi, Shudaul Haq in Srinagar for Headlines Today.